benefits. Yeah, tell me, guys.
Sorry, we missed out your last
My
sentence.
question to you is, if you have noticed, most of the organizations today, not only mandatory benefits, over and above the mandatory benefits, most of the organizations are now, emphasizing on kind of benefits. Why do you think that is happening?
Organizations think that that adds more value to the people, maybe adding more value through those benefits. Well, apart from that, paying in hand directly, adding more benefits or value adding to their compensation, or establishing them as a brand of preference. So they are giving more facilities.
Yeah,
and
you said a
preferences.
couple of things. Say, for example, yes, because there is a war for talent, so everybody wants to create some kind of a branding, right?
Yeah.
Say if you want to work for Google, you ask the youngsters, why do they want to work for Google? What kind of responses will you get? Aarti is young. Aarti, if you want to work for Google, then why will you work for Google? Or why do you want to work for
There
Google?
will be a lot of incentive, like the work culture. I would like to look at the visibility, the benefits more than compensation, so all that, which
Exactly.
is one of today's time where people are a lot of stress they are dealing with every day, and such companies who are fundamentals are really strong. They take care of that.
So you, apart from that, a lot of people say, hey, I can take my pet, I can do my own project, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what are organizations doing? Trying to create some kind of a branding. For example, I'm sure all of you know about this company called SAS, IT company SAS. Any familiarity? SAS develops, it says we are a familial company, in the sense they are creating a brand image of saying that we are a family centered company. So when you say a family centered company, what does it mean? They are saying, hey, to attract their best talent, what do they do? Apart from crash, which most of the organizations give, what do? They buy up a lot of leased accommodations closer to the workplace. They give it to their employees. Okay. Then besides that, they have good club facilities, which they say, hey, please come, bring your family along. Then they also take care of what, if you are having elderly parents, etc., they will send a nurse, etc., to take care of them. Or if you're having talented children, specially gifted children, or disabled children, you have some kind of special facilities to take care of them. So what are they doing? They're trying to build up that a family concept. Say, for example, Aman is getting about what, 2 lakh rupees, and the recruiter calls and says, hey, you're going to get 3 lakh rupees. Yeah, would you like to work? And if you're working for SAS, you say, but tell me, I know sounds good, you're increasing my salary by 1 lakh, but then do you have all these things? Do you have these club facilities? Do you have care for the elder? Do you have care for my specially gifted children, etc.? Do you have leased accommodation around the workplace? Say, no, we don't have all that. But we'll say, hey, see, my company is actually giving me all this. So so what happens? You will not be actually then attracted to that just the salary. Are you getting me? So now what is happening? Most of the organizations, in order to attract the right kind of a talent, what exactly is their core value or philosophy? They're trying to create a brand by giving those kind of benefits. For example, Infosys. Infosys is not a best pay master. You know what is the kind of salary they pay? It is the 65th percentile. When I say 65th or 70th percentile, that means they are not the top pay masters. They are paying much. I mean, they are paying, if I say 70th percentile, 69 companies are paying lesser than them. But why are they able to attract talent, youngsters from the campuses? Anybody? What kind of a branding they have done for themselves that, in spite of the salary differential, that they are able to attract the right talent?
It's a learning enterprise.
You
The
said it, you
promote-
are very closer. So what do? They are branded themselves, saying that, hey, we are going to invest in you in terms of upgrading your skills, giving variety of projects. What is a youngster looking at? It's not the salary. It's a growth factor in terms of working on various projects, learning, right? So that's how they are. So they create a brand around that. So today, in terms of benefits, most of the organizations are, even non-IT companies are creating a brand around them. So that's the importance. And also you have to get, you are also then benchmarking yourself with industry related. If you are in a particular industry, you are also giving benefits, industry related benefits, by actually doing a survey and saying, hey, what are the other peers giving? And if you are not giving them, then you are a loser because you are not able to attract the kind of talent, right guys? So in fact, when I'm going to do a special module on benefits, we're also going to talk about this digitization of benefits and how organizations in such corona and pandemic times, how they have gone ahead, and this entire, the benefits, I mean, so much of creativity and innovation in this benefits. We'll talk about it. Okay. So I have a small module only on benefit, and in such times of talent crunch, how are organizations trying to attract talent? Okay, guys. So having said that, now we are going on into we are going now deeper into beginning of the compensation. Okay. Let me go to the whiteboard. Very interesting. Okay. So every organization says that compensation means we want to be fair, we want to be equitable. So again, my question to you is, what is equity? When I say equitable, paying?
Paying compensation to the employees irrespective of their gender, caste, creed, religion.
Okay, paying
etc.,
fairly.
etc.
Okay, so or you are not making a differentiation when two people are doing the same job. There is no pay differential, etc. Say for example, just look at this. Okay, now text. So if this is your performance, PER, this is performance. Okay, and this is reward. Got it? So this is low, and this is high, and this is clear, guys. So as you keep going this axis, performance axis, that means from low to high, and this is your reward from low to high. Okay, say for example, draw. I'm A. Okay. So this guy is A. So where do you think his performance is? It's here, okay, and his reward is here, high. There's another person. Okay, so this is person B. All right. There are two people, A and B. Got it? Now, B performance his performance is very high, but as compared to the person A, his reward is
Low.
lower. So is there equity then? I'm working hard. Okay. B, but so how will B see? Will B see that the reward is equitable?
No.
B
No.
will not see that the reward is equitable. So therefore, the underlying principle, according to Adam Smith, he says, employees or people always compare themselves with others. We are always comparing ourselves with others as to how much are they getting. We compare ourselves with others. So when we do comparison, what happens? We are comparing our reward with the effort we put in with the other person's reward and with the effort he puts in. Okay, this is called the equity principle. What are we trying to do always? Hey, the effort, that is the kind of competencies, the skills, the punctuality, everything what I put in and the reward I get, I compare that with another person. Okay, and if I see that there is no I can't find that thing. Okay, let me just see. If I find that I cannot find, if reward and effort is equal to reward and effort of the person I compare, then I will say, hey, there is equity. So what does it mean? Simply that whenever you are working for an organization, you are always comparing your compensation vis-a-vis the others working in the organization. Okay, and how are you comparing that with your reward and effort with the others? And if you find that it is actually lesser than what others are getting, then what will happen? You will see it as inequity. That means, hey, you see, I'm working very hard, but I'm actually not getting rewarded. Then when I see that there is inequity, what will I do?
Not looking for a job.
I will
Demotivated.
I will
You will
start
get
looking for a
demotivated
job.
and
Yeah. So when I start looking for a job, what will happen while I'm working in that job? What will happen to my productivity?
goes down.
It goes
Productivity
down.
goes down.
When you see there are 10 people who are looking out for a job, what will happen to their productivity?
Goes down.
Goes down. So what will happen to the compensation costs? I'm paying you, but am I getting value for that?
No.
I can see that there is a drop in productivity. If there are 500 people and say, for example, 100%, so only 40% are engaged and 60% are looking out for jobs, what will happen? Your wage cost value is
High, very
reduced.
high.
Your wage cost is high, but you are not getting proportionately your productivity. So therefore, it's very, very important for HR people, HR BP or compensation experts to understand always that, hey, how do people perceive? Are they perceiving inequity or are they perceiving equity? Now, how do you get to know that their perception is equity or inequity? By the huge attrition. Especially during annual increment, after annual increments, after you get your bonuses after 1 or 2 months, if you can, you will see people leaving. No, that's the best indicator whether they are people. So especially during your, after your annual increment, you really need to know, hey, why are people leaving? Are they leaving? Is compensation is the real cause, right? So what do you call this inequity? It is called internal equity. Have you heard of this word, guys? Anybody? Internal equity?
Yeah.
Huh? What
Yes,
is internal equity? When I, as an employee, in relation to the other jobs, I find that, hey, I'll give you an example. Sometimes what happens, there is an HR manager. He says, this senior manager HR, his effort is so less, but he gets much more salary than me. I'm doing so much of work. So when you have that kind of a feeling, then what will happen to this guy HR manager? Is he giving his 100%? He's not giving his 100%, because he's all the time thinking, not thinking about what he is getting. He's all the time thinking about why that guy is getting more and he's working less. No?
Yes.
Not because of the absolute amount. It is because of the relative
Difference.
Comparison.
Saying that, so you always don't cry because you don't. It's always when you compare with what you have, you don't bother. You say, hey, because that person is having that, you compare yourself. So this is called internal equity. That means when you see that there is no equity within the number of jobs which are there in an organization. And I'm sure in most of the organization, the first and the fundamental thing for a HR head or a competent person to see that there is internal equity. Because what happens typically, startup organizations, they typically decide salary something like a handshake. Hey, we have to take this guy. Okay, fine. You give him X amount. There's another guy, you give him Y amount. At the end of 5 years or 4 years, you will realize that there's so much of disparity. There is so much of compensation differentials. There is no relationship with the role and the salary. And this is a fact, guys. No? And it's called what? Salary comparisons. So the fundamental thing is internal equity. That means when there is no equity within the kind of roles in an organization vis-a-vis reward and effort. So how will you establish internal equity? By doing what? Any idea? Some people who have done something.
Some competency mapping would help here to a great extent.
Is that Aarti? Aarti?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So why do you think competency mapping is going to help?
Yes, ma'am. I feel that people will have different set skill at the same level also.
Okay.
Managers
Okay.
adding value in different capacities. So,
Okay.
and
Okay.
looking at the uniqueness of the individuals that they bring to the job, I might be looking differently, but that's just one perspective that I look at.
So I'm just playing the devil's advocate. So you said competency mapping. So by increasing competencies in an organization, what can I increase? I can increase the competence or a performance of the organization, right?
Yeah, like
yeah. But will it establish internal equity? I'm just playing the devil's advocate. Don't get me wrong.
ma'am, like if I compare, like employees are comparing constantly with each other, the pay package and the rule. And rightly you said that people will have different skill set.
Absolutely.
So to do the particular role, there will be some necessary factors, critical factors in the skill set that person A will have, which B will not have.
Right.
Justification for paying that A manager more than B. That's what I understand.
Yeah. So therefore, why I actually wanting this discussion is, so when we talk about compensation, essentially we are not talking about people or the persons. Okay, when we are talking, because we are going to now begin to work on that, when we are talking about compensation, we are talking about roles. We are talking about jobs.
Responsibility.
Okay, we are talking about HR manager. Now I'm not talking about Aman. All right, Aman may be a person I have taken in the HR manager's role. Now I will first of all establish the worth of that HR manager's job and say, then he comes into this salary, I'll design a salary. So when I'm talking about compensation, I'm essentially talking about, hey, if this is the organization, what are the jobs? Where are they? Or what are the roles? Okay, what kind of role responsibility they have, and then after doing a job evaluation, I will establish the worth of the job and say we have to pay this much. Now, if Aman has certain competencies in addition, which is like what cross skill, upskill, I will say then I will add some more money into it.
Absolutely. Right.
Are you with me? Are you with me? Okay. So just to clarify, I brought in that discussion purposely, saying that when I'm talking about compensation, so I want you all to forget that I'm not talking about people here. First, I will first decide a structure. Because this is what happens whenever, even when we are doing market salary, we are saying, oh, X person has to be given this much. No, you correct this structure, you correct the pay range, then put that person there. Okay, when we come to market corrections, we'll say. So here, when we are establishing internal equity, that means, first of all, I have to, how much I have to pay depends on what is the worth of the job. Got it? So when I'm doing internal equity, I'm now establishing the worth of 10 jobs, 20 jobs, 30 jobs, which are there in the organization. And what is the tool I will use? I will use a tool called job evaluation. Have you heard of this word called job evaluation, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Job evaluation is what is a systematic scientific process wherein I'm evaluating the worth of a job in relation to the other jobs which are there in the organization, so that I can stack them up in order of their worth. Okay. I could do it in various ways, rank ordering, point method, etc. But it is a process of establishing the worth of the job. Now, how will you establish the worth of the job? The starting point for this is a document called
job description.
Job description. Without understanding what the job does or the role does, how can I evaluate? So a job description is a document which gives you an entire understanding of what this role does, to whom does it report, what kind of role, responsibility it has, what kind of competencies it requires, everything. And how do I get this document? By doing
Job analysis.
Job analysis.
Okay, so there is a difference between job evaluation and job analysis, because job analysis is a systematic study or analyzing the job for job description. But job evaluation starts with job description. Got it? So there is a difference, first of all, between job evaluation and job analysis, because the purpose of job analysis is job description. The purpose of job evaluation is to understand the worth of the job. Got it, guys? Okay. Now, so having understood, so job evaluation is done to establish the worth of the job and do internal equity. So that is one kind of equity which exists. Now, so reward and effort, I am actually now comparing myself with the other jobs. Now, say for example, I am an HR manager. Now I'll say, hey, I'm working in Vyapar, but similar companies, HR manager are getting more salary. I'm comparing myself with other HR managers of similar companies.
External equity.
So that is called external equity. That means I am comparing myself with the market and trying to compare and say, hey, that, you know, in comparison to my salary, the market is paying more. So how do I then bring fairness in that? By doing salary benchmarking. Because if I'm not going to do salary benchmarking, obviously there will be huge attrition, because the employees know that, hey, you know, the peer companies are paying much more. So organizations have to do market study, market pricing, and then depending on their compensation philosophy, whether they want to lead or lag, so they have to decide vis-a-vis the market, where do I need to stand? Got it? And there is an entire science behind salary benchmarking, which we will definitely do. A lot of quantitative and statistical analysis with a lot of data will do that. Okay, that's called external equity. So what happens if I'm not if I don't do market pricing, and if I don't want to know what the others are paying as a HR head or as a CEO, what will happen? Tell me.
People will leave and
Huh?
People will leave and look for another job. They will
Or
go to the
even
competitors.
I may be paying more. How will I know whether I'm paying more or less?
Yeah.
Right? Even to know,
Yes.
I need a comparator. No,
Comparative.
how much am I paying? For all you know, you may be paying actually more.
More.
And do you know that sometimes employees who are being really paid more, they are the ones who will never leave the job. Huh? Right?
At
So,
times.
doesn't it happen?
Yeah, at times it happens.
At times, right? It has. I mean, as an HR head, I have actually faced always. I had to really look for those people, huge costs, and yet, and they've been there for many years, and look into their productivity as well, because year on year they are getting an increment, right?
They get stick to those jobs and don't leave.
Yeah, comfort zones.
Comfort zones.
Okay. Now this is called external equity. Now there are two people working in a similar job. Okay. For example, there are two accountants working in the same, two people working in the accountant role. Now, one accountant really does, a lot of overwork because he has been burdened with a lot of other than his job description. Now, he says, hey, but what is in it for me? I'm doing many other tasks, many other works. So how do I compensate? Right? Or there are two salespeople. And so if I'm going to incentivize them or give them the same kind of incentives irrespective of their targets, I should ask them. I think it is Venkat. Venkat, what will happen to those sales guys here?
Sorry, Nirmala. Just
No. I was talking about, if there are two sales people and irrespective of their targets, overachieving, I'm actually incentivizing them in a similar manner without differentiating their performance. What will happen then?
That pay for performance objective
without
gets
differentiating,
defeated.
yeah, without differentiating, I'm only giving them the same salary. What will happen then?
Then you can't distinguish between performer and a non-performer.
No, leave alone performer, non-performer. The performer also will say, why should I do work?
जब दोनों को सेम ही मिल रहा है तो rather I also don't put in.
Why should I work? Why should I push myself? Why should I stretch? When there is no incentive for me, I can do it. But no incentive, why should I do it? So therefore, you have to ensure that how are you going to then make your employees stretch, or that tag today, what we call it as, high performance culture. So how are we going to bring that high performance culture? By actually then catering for what variable short-term incentives and long-term, which we call it as, that there is establishing, this is called individual equity. So how many equities are there in an organization we need to actually establish?
3. Internal, external, individual.
Absolutely no. Three. Internal, external,
and individual.
Individual equity. Internal, vis-a-vis the other roles in the job. Okay. External, comparing one job with the same job in the market. And individual is two individuals in the same job. How do you motivate them? Okay. So here you are actually designing, and what are you doing? Then designing variable pays so that you are able to motivate and you are able to stretch these people. Okay. Now I want you to actually take about just a couple of minutes, and in your organization, can you just list down some of the incentives for performance? What are some of the incentives you have, or what are some of the variable pay options you have? Just take a minute or two with respect to your organization. Of course, one is the most popular, the sales targets which the salesmen have for the insurance, right? In terms of the SBI insurance, okay, very popular. But what about others? Like, for example, pharma, biological events. So just take a minute or two to identify what are those forms of variable pay you have in your organization. Anybody? Ready?
We have sales, matlab with respect to my company, we have a sales incentive matlab in terms of revenue and achievement of target.
Yeah.
Apart from that, there is no other variable pay.
The most common which the operational people have who are directly responsible for targets is the sales targets.
Yes.
So what about your support staff? Do they also have some kind of a variable incentive?
No, not incentive, but in terms of rewards at times based on their performance, and if they are stretching themselves, going out of the work, doing some implementing something, out of the box, and so then we have some sort of rewards and recognition kind of programs we run. Some Amazon gift coupon, some gifts in cash or kind.
So that can come in reward and recognition kind of.
Reward and recognition, RNR.
Yeah. Aarti, let's talk about you, pharma company. What kind of a variable options you have? Say, for example, you are scientists, R&D scientists.
Yes, there are certain policy which is not shared with everybody. So I wouldn't be able to comment on that.
No problem. Yeah.
If it is very confidential here.
Absolutely.
But I do agree that we have sales incentive above the salary.
Yeah.
And there are R&R quarterly, half yearly, and annual schemes which keep the people motivated and they look forward to it. So,
okay. But typically what happens in pharma companies where there is a lot of R&D done, there's something like a milestones, because it takes, when you have to do research, it takes 15, 20 years. So then you identify certain milestones, and for every milestone, then you incentivize.
Right.
There are also project incentives, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. Lump sum amounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody else who has a different other than sales target and milestones, etc.? Any other variable form?
Ma'am, Rajeshwari.
Yeah.
In our organization, we have variable pay, which is bucketed into 3 different actually.
Okay.
One is based on organization performance. The second is based on business unit performance. And third is individual performance actually. So when you look at organization and business unit, there is various, again, where the KPI has been looked into, like, the utilization, then, revenue, margin, then employee satisfaction, attrition. There are very almost like 9 to 10 parameters which is gets involved. So based on the performance between projected and actual, the variable pay has been paid out like 100%, 120%, 140%. If the BO is not performing, we do get even less than 100% also. So that's the kind of parameters where our service sectors.
There's a kind of a scorecard. It could be a balanced scorecard, or it could be a different scorecard altogether. But they get cascaded down.
Yes.
In the sense that there is a scorecard at the top level, and then that gets cascaded down to every business unit or a vertical in terms of the targets, etc. So based on that, and then why do you think this is there? Because typically, to have a line of sight. Say, for example, if I were to actually at the lowest level, not like you said, there is some amount even for the business contribution, okay, for the individual contribution. So why do you think there is an apportion? Because you want the organization to actually work in collaboration, because interdependency is there. Otherwise, say, hey, I have to do my work. Why should I collaborate with somebody, right? So it's very, very important for people, for organizations to do that. Like, for example, in manufacturing, anybody working in a manufacturing organization here? Anybody? Manufacturing organizations?
I have worked earlier.
You worked there.
I worked
so, okay. So I'm sure you heard of something very interesting called gain sharing.
Sorry?
Gain sharing.
Gain sharing. Okay, gain sharing. Okay.
Have you heard of this gain sharing?
Usually it is no. So while I had worked, we did not have it.
Okay, no problem. What is gain sharing actually? Here what happens, it is a little different from profit sharing. I'm sure you must have heard of profit sharing.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
So profit sharing is typically what happens. The guy at the end of the year, how much profit did the organization make, and then as a percentage of basic salary, etc. Then you are sharing the profit right from the top to the lowest level. Okay. So that's the end of the year. But gain sharing, what happens? It happens almost on maybe a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. What exactly is gain sharing? What is the objective of gain sharing? To ensure that all the people, like say for example on the shop floor, you are working on a product or something like that. Then to ensure that there is quality, reduce wastage, rework, okay, optimize on productivity. So it's an entire collaborative effort. So what happens, they say, hey, within these parameters of resources, if you are actually going to increase your productivity, given certain kind of parameters and given some target, if you are going to increase it, then the rest of it can be shared within the team. So what will the team do? Team really works in a very collaborative manner, ensures there is no rework, ensures there is quality, ensures there is high productivity, and ensures that they are optimizing on the resources as well, right? Okay, so they share the spoils, in the sense month on month, based on whatever the standards are given, the increase in productivity is shared. So that's called gain sharing. And most of the organizations, manufacturing organizations, have this common practice of gain sharing. Okay, it's also a form of variable pay, which is actually a team-based pay. All right, guys. So it is different from profit sharing. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I think profit sharing is more limited to the higher management band.
It is also limited to the higher management band, but also it depends on the kind of philosophy and the value system of the organization. In IT organizations, some of the IT organizations, they could be sharing across the organization and a percentage of the base salary. Okay. Why is it done? Because they want to actually support or promote collaboration, interdependency, because today what happens, stakeholder management becomes very, very important. Like your output is dependent on somebody else's input. So in order to ensure that the person actually gives you the right kind of input, you are actually creating that collaborative culture. And in fact, if you notice, even in performance management, this collaborative quotient is becoming very, very key, because nothing on an independent individual kind of a silo kind of a treatment. Okay. All right, guys. Okay. Now, I have just introduced you to the three kinds of equity typically which exist in organizations. That is the internal equity, the external equity, and the individual equity. And we would be doing in every session as to how are we going to establish these equities. One is through job evaluation. Second is market pricing. Third is introducing and designing variable incentive schemes. Okay. Now, having said that, the most interesting thing today, what is the trend in organization today? What are we talking about today is, today we are talking more in terms of total reward strategy. We are not just talking about compensation and benefit. Today, most of the organizations are talking about total reward strategy. Anybody familiar with this name, word, total reward strategy? Yeah.
Yes,
Tell
yes,
me
heard.
what is it? What is it?
Heard about that. A combination of all the factors, like monetary, non-monetary, well-being of an employee, and then career development programs, individual development programs, all these together.
When you are actually focusing just on compensation and benefits, but organization is spending again in training, development, etc. So now organize, hey, let us take it as a holistically, saying that, when we talk about total reward strategy, they were looking at 5 elements. What are the 5 elements? Compensation, benefits per se, benefits absolutely as an element. Then you are also looking at a work-life balance. Okay. You're also looking at all this entire performance management process of performance recognition. How do you do? Because not everything is just compensation. How do you appreciate a person? How do you recognize a person? Spot awards, etc. And then you're talking about development and career opportunities. Okay. So when I just focus only on compensation, which is just money, it's not going to do more. More is not going to what motivate, attract, or retain people. If you notice saying that, hey, I'm going to give you 5 lakhs of rupees, come and work for me, the person is not just looking for money. He is also looking at all the other elements. So today organizations are trying to create a brand around these elements and saying that, hey, can we look at all the other elements and then create a kind of a strategy so that we can attract and motivate and retain our talent? Because ultimately what happens, you need the right kind of talent. Say, for example, why right kind of a talent? Let us just understand a little more. Why do you think talent has become so important an asset? Why do you think it is so important in today's times?
It will lead to enhanced productivity if you have the right talent.
Okay, I agree. Outcomes, enhanced productivity, etc. Any other? Let me think.
Talent is like a basic thing to have.
Basic?
It's
So just let me give you all our HRBP business partners here. Okay. Now, why do we call this? This is an investment where it's going to give you, a kind of a competitive advantage. Gone are the times we are in a knowledge economy. 2 decades ago, human resources not considered. Was it considered a very important asset? So therefore, even in your books, what is that market evaluation? Facebooks and LinkedIn's and why do you think their market capitalization is so huge? Is it because of those mission materials, etc.? No, it's because of those what? Human capital. So if you have noticed in the books as well, because of the human, what kind of people in the knowledge economy, this gives you that inimitable. You cannot imitate, right? You may be getting technology, best of technology you can get. Hey, that guy, that company has, you can bring that. You can bring as finances. But what you cannot imitate is that culture, that value system, that gives you that, what we call it as that strategic advantage for competitive advantage or competitive leverage. So how do organization actually get leverage? Only through this human resource talent, which is inimitable. So when you are actually investing in it, so you need to, any talent will not give you that kind of an advantage. You have to have that right kind of talent. It is not only just your skills, competencies, okay, it's an entire thing. When you actually hire, so therefore again, as Aarti said, you have to look at the entire competency mapping, etc., so that you have the right kind of competencies to bring the right kind of a person, not only just skills, but what kind of a value system he has, what kind of behavioral competency he has. Does he have the right adjustment with the organization? Does he compare well with the organization's values and philosophies, etc.?
And also the potential, like what he can grow into.
Absolutely. So does he have the learning ability, etc.? So there are various things to look at. So that's entirely competency, that's another area. But here, just because we are going to invest in people, which is a huge cost, therefore, so it is just not focusing at compensation, but focusing on all the 5 elements, which we will be talking in detail in another module, where I would be talking especially about the benefits. Okay, guys? Okay, let me see if I can give you a little more on this. Yeah. Yeah, I want to leave 10 minutes for questions, so that, because, then we are going to become very, very technical in the following 4 sessions. It's going to be very highly technical, quantified, with analysis, etc. Okay. And this is the only session where there is some amount of concepts and, just to give you a kind of a background on compensation, the philosophy of compensation, etc. Any questions, guys? I want to spend 10 minutes on your questions so that, you know.
Nirmala ma'am, hi, Ram here.
Yeah, Ram.
So, as I understand, we use a lot of terminologies, lot of jargons in compensation and benefit, like compression, comp ratio, then salary compression. So, I want to understand: is there any site or is there any document which you can provide us, so that we can go through and get ourselves familiarized with these terminologies?
See, first of all, as we go along in every session, when I'm using terminologies like a comp ratio or a pay range or a midpoint differentials, I'll be explaining that in detail with you. Okay, but then definitely with the help of Merit consultants, we will create a glossary kind of a thing and send it to you. Okay,
Sure, thank you.
which will be helpful to you. Okay, surely. Surely, absolutely. Because these are, this terminology is very much specific to the compensation as such. So therefore, it's very, very important that you understand them in that right perspective.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Everybody is very quiet.
No question is coming right now.
No, based on whatever we discussed today. So that, you know,
so Nirmala, we were just before this slide, we were discussing about this incentives, types of incentives. So, so one is the performance linked variable pay or performance based incentives.
Right.
Then target based incentives.
Right.
I just wanted to, so I have just listed down a couple of incentives that we discussed. I just wanted to understand if there could be further more. So target based. Then there is something like you have, at least in insurance companies, we have a contest-based incentives.
Contest.
Okay? So there are some contests held from time to time.
Right,
during especially the festival times and all that.
Right.
So you try to push the target more during that point of time. And besides the incentives, there are some gifts also given, like your fridge, TV, or something on those lines. So that's why we call as contest based.
So therefore, is that Venkat? So when we are going to do individual equity, which is actually establishing, you know, individual, or you know, how do you actually ensure that they when the job, you know, two individuals are working in the same job and you want them to stretch. Okay. So we will first of all talk about what are the design considerations of a typical incentive scheme. Okay, that's one. Design considerations, like for example, intent. Okay. Then how do you create criteria, etc. So there are 7 or 8 things, performance criteria, etc. So we will be discussing that. Then we will also discuss in terms of individual incentive plans, team-based incentive plans. So when you have that, then when you are saying incentives, performance is over, but then over and above, is it there that you give all the time incentive for everything, or do you have some kind of a reward, spot rewards, recognitions, appreciation letters? So both monetary and non-monetary we will be discussing. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Aarti, you have any question?
No, ma'am. I was just wondering on those parameters that we discussed, which are the top 10 companies to look at in terms of reward and I mean the total reward strategy. I was just there.
Okay. In fact, most of the companies, knowledge-based companies, are talking only about the total reward strategy, because if you're only, see, gone are the days, maybe 2 decades ago, when we were only focusing, when our parents, or even when I was working, say about 3 decades ago, you would just get an employment letter saying that focusing just on compensation and a mandatory kind of a benefit, PF and all that stuff. That's it. But today, you know, as you know, that there is it has evolved from an industrial era to a knowledge era. Okay, and we are more into a digitized kind of a thing, where we are in such an era. So now, you know, our workforce has also changed, right? You have millennials, you have gigaforce, you have, like I discussed about this trends. I discussed about those blended styles and portfolio workers. Like for example, uh, what is that food you get? Zomato. Okay.
Yeah, tomatoes.
Now you have so many delivery boys, right? Huh? Or Amazon works delivery. So how do you think, or what will you do? Is it just compensation, or how will you look at an entire both direct and indirect pay, and how will it motivate them? What will it motivate them? So you need to look at a lot of things, right?
Okay.
So compensation is just not the only thing you look at when you are looking at hiring a person. You have because there is a huge mismatch between what the candidate wants and what you are offering. So you have he comes prepared. When you are there for an interview wanting to hire a person, that guy is already done his all market survey, everything, and so therefore you have to actually put yourself in that person's shoes and say, hey, what is this guy wanting to, what is he looking at? Not that what you have and you can offer and he's going to take it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Recently I had a trainee asking me a question. So what is the career plan for trainees? So
You have to understand what I call it as the career drivers. Have you done this Richard scale inventory? You
yeah,
guys?
we had an exercise
RSI instrument?
yeah, we had an exercise earlier. Yeah.
So where you know exactly what are those drivers, and is there a match between what I am offering as an organization and what the candidate wants, right? So you need to really match them. So today we are looking at all these elements, which is called a total reward strategy. In fact, if you notice, um, some of them may be focusing just on work life, performance and recognition. Some little more focus on just development, career opportunity. There are a lot of organizations which will give 60th, 70th percentile in compensation, but a lot on benefits, because why? They have this model of what buy and build model. When I talk about buy and build model, what entry level, they are going to take candidates, but thereafter no lateral hires, etc. They are going to build their own talent. So how do they build their talent? By focusing on development and career opportunities. At the same time, also recognizing the top performers and performance so that they are able to retain their top talent. Got it, guys? Enough? So that some organizations only believe in just buy because they are startups or they can't help it. So there they won't have any bench strength. They won't believe in developmental career opportunities, because every time they want, they'll go and buy in the market for 2 to 3 times more, right? So we will look at different models, okay? And as we go along and we understand how various organizations, like for example, I want to throw this question and I want you to really come, we can have some discussion point. For example, in an organization where there is not much of scope in career growth, or there's not much of hierarchy. You understand what I mean? That means it's a very flat organization. There's not much of growth. How do you motivate people? How do you then create a compensation structure when there's not much of growth? There are just few levels. You can't push all of them up, right? So how are you going to ensure that they are motivated to work? What is the kind of a model you will have there, compensation structure, or what kind of structures? So not every organization will have the same or compensation structures, right? So it depending on the setup, the context, the structure, and even the industry. So structures will keep varying, like a broadband structure. So how will you motivate those people? So what kind of a workforce will you take? So think on this, and then maybe in the next session, we can begin with the discussion point like this. Okay, guys? Okay. And in the next session, what we are going to do is, we are going to do job evaluation. We'll look at all the methods, 4 or 5 methods, but in particular, we're going to use point method, okay, which is a quantified method, and we will then establish points for for a case study for an organization where there might be 10 positions or 15 positions, and then we will analyze them.
Ma'am, will we cover this point factor method in detail?
Which method?
Point factor method?
Yeah, absolutely. In detail. Yeah, using a regression analysis, we will be doing everything. We will do job grading and point method in detail.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any question just before we close? So
we
guys,
have come
yeah.
to closure. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No,
So,
we were so engrossed in the session that I lost count of the time actually. Okay.
So I want you all to read up so that you are able to comprehend faster, because in job evaluation, there are things which, if you read and may not understand, it's okay, but then you'll remember, so that when I'm teaching, then you are able to, because it will be a little more technical. Okay. So please read the reading material, which is sent by Wilma. Okay. And we would be doing the job evaluation and the entire point method in the second session. Okay,
It will be sent after this session. Huh?
Pardon? Yeah. Wilma will be sending it after the session. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank